stellar job. So thank you so much.
Well, I am gratefully appreciative of that, but I'm always mindful of the fact that, you know what, I don't exist and I don't have an opportunity without great people like you and without viewers and without, other positive people who are interested in justice, who are interested in crime. And so all any of us can do on any given day, I always know and I recognize, is the best we can. And some days are better than others, but, every day that we're blessed to walk the earth is certainly a good day. So, I'm just going to continue to try to, bring people what I think to be a reasonable and objective point of view and let them decide. But I'm always mindful of the fact that, there's a lot of great viewers out there, and I certainly would not be in any position to do anything if without their support, positivity, and kindness. So I appreciate you.
No question. And speaking of Mr. AaronHernandez, looks like the prosecution set to rest. They brought in a very, was the hostile witness in Robert Kraft. Well, first, tell me about the case. Tell me about what you think of his test. Was it helpful or hurtful for the prosecution who did bring him in, right?
Well, looking at the case itself, I certainly get the defense's main thrust, and that is that, there seems to be a motive that's lacking in that you have a guy who's making $44 million, who has a beautiful daughter, who has a beautiful home, he's got a beautiful life, and so why on earth will he do it? I certainly get the defense's point of view and that there is no murder weapon that was recovered, but talk about death by 1,000 cuts. There's circumstantial evidence here, and it's pretty significant, and it can't be overlooked. I mean, at the end of the day, juries do and jurors do what they do. I can never account for what a jury renders a verdict for or how they render it. We've seen strange cases. Should O.J. Simpson have been acquitted initially, in the killing of Nicole Brown Simpson and Mr. Goldman, I think many people tell you no. Ultimately, he's in jail anyway for stealing his Heisman Trophy in Vegas. Some might call that poetic justice, but thought he should have been convicted. Should Casey Anthony have been convicted in the, killing of, her daughter? I think many people tell you yes. And so jurors do what they do, and sometimes verdicts make sense. Other times we really try to piece together how jurors arrived at the decision. But from looking at the trial and looking at the evidence, there seems to be a lot of compelling circumstantial evidence. And what am I speaking of specifically? I mean, you have the industrial park. You have the cell phone pings putting AaronHernandez at the scene of that crime. You have surveillance video at Odin Lloyd's home showing that he was picked up, that is Odin Lloyd with AaronHernandez, with Mr. Wallace and Mr. Ortiz as co-defendant. You have 4 people drive into that industrial park, 3 people leave. AaronHernandez is there, his DNA is there, his footprint is there, his chewing gum is there, his shell casing is there. It looks as though in his home surveillance video, he's holding what appears to be a gun before the incident occurs. He is holding what appears to be a gun after the incident occurs. It just seems like there's certainly a lot here to suggest that he's the guy who did it. Will the jury convict? I think so. But, stranger things have happened. But I think the prosecution has certainly put forth a circumstantial case, I think a pretty compelling one. And as we know, you mentioned Robert Kraft testified. He's telling Robert Kraft, listen, it wasn't me, I was at a club. We know that not to be true. Yes, he was at a club earlier in the night, but we know surveillance video at his own home shows him coming home, shows him leaving the home with his co-defendants, picking up Wallace. So, he lied to Robert Kraft. Why are you doing that? That would evidence consciousness of guilt. We saw the medical examiner, being the last witness of the case, testify today, Mr. Zane, Dr. Zane, showing the injuries and the 5 bullets, potentially 6, that Odin Lloyd was struck with. It's a compelling circumstantial case, but I think the prosecution may have done enough to get a conviction here.
And notwithstanding this conviction or not, there are 2 open cases for Mr. Aaron Hernandez, acquitted or not acquitted, that will be